Have you ever played a game and once you finish it, you have a ton of thoughts? And then you think back and try to remember how you felt at the beginning of that game? So I decided to write down all my thoughts while playing the game in real time. And I'm writing this script as I'm playing through the game. I'm curious of how my thoughts and feelings will change during my time with each game. I'm going to write my thoughts down at the 1 hour, 5 hour, 10 hour, 20 hour, and then the end of each one of these games. The first game we're playing is the newly released Romancing Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven, a JRPG that I've always wanted to play but never got around to it when I was younger, and now I have a chance with the remake. Romancing Saga 2 follows the story of a dynasty of rulers as they fight the Seven Heroes. These heroes were formerly saviors of the world that were corrupted into demon-like creatures. While I'm writing down my thoughts and talking about them during this video, it's possible that there will be some spoilers, so if you haven't played this and don't want anything spoiled, I would consider coming back to this video once you play the game. I'll try my best not to spoil anything, but I just wanted to put that in there before. But we'll consider this my spoiler warning, just in case. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. If you've also played this game, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm excited to start playing, so I'll check back in once I hit the 1 hour mark. After 1 hour of gameplay, there wasn't much to talk about on the content side of things. The game starts a bit slow when it comes to story, but throws you right into the gameplay. We start by playing as Emperor Leon and his son Gerard, clearing out fiends from a chamber that used to be sealed. This dungeon acts as the tutorial of the game. The combat in this game is actually very in-depth, considering that it's just a somewhat traditional turn-based battle system. Each character doesn't level up from level 1 to level 2, but instead they level up their health, battle points, which is our MP or action points needed to use skills, weapon levels, and our magic levels. Each weapon type can be leveled up but has to be used in the battle to earn experience. This is going to increase our strength with the weapon and what new traits or skills we can learn in battle. When learning skills, they are randomly triggered when using each weapon or getting triggered by specific events taking place in the battle. These are known as shimmers, and I don't fully understand how they trigger, but when we learn a new skill, we get to use it for free for the very first time. Magic acts the same way. The more we use it, the more it levels up, and as we use the base level spells, sometimes we can learn new magic spells. Once we get so far into the opening dungeon, we find more members from Avalon, the kingdom that our character Gerard is one of the heirs to the throne. Each one of these characters have their own class type, and we can switch their secondary class however we see fit. When we get a party of 5 characters, you get to pick a formation in battle. This will determine how our characters line up on the battlefield. This will give us buffs or debuffs depending on what they are. To start out, we only have 2 formations, the first one being called Free For All, which is just a straight line, and then this diamond-shaped formation that allows for us to have one character in the back that takes less damage, but moves slower, and then one character in the front that acts as the shield for the group. I think some decision making for other formations in the future could really turn the tide in battles. I really like the enemy variety in the opening dungeon because we're facing a bunch of different creatures, and each one of them have their own weaknesses and attack types. This is another thing I should point out because each enemy has weaknesses and we have to figure them out by attacking them with different weapon types and different spells. This is a really neat detail that they added into this game, and it made me think about how we can't just focus on one weapon type because it could hurt us later on in the game. Once we complete the dungeon, we meet our brother that is a better fighter than us. His name is Victor, and he would be the next in line for the throne. We meet some other characters before we head out for another dungeon, leaving our brother in charge. This is more of the same, just getting used to the combat and collecting some items. We even get our first boss fight at the end of this dungeon. It's a giant rabbit with a clock around his neck, but since I'm not trying to spoil anything, I'm just going to say that some foreshadowed events take place when we return from this dungeon. I think the cutscenes in this game are beautiful. The team behind this did a great job making the world look great with updated graphics. I haven't had any issues with this game yet. Everything feels balanced, no slowdowns or difficulty spikes. It just feels good. There are a few points where we have to climb vines that our body parts clip through the vines themselves, but it's not really all that noticeable, and it's not that bad. At the hour mark, I'm really enjoying the battle system and find the combat extremely fun. The story hasn't done much at this point, but it sparked my curiosity, so I'm excited to see where it goes. The only thing I'm confused about is at the beginning of the game we get to pick a character, and then we get to name them, but they haven't been part of the game at all so far, besides them sitting at this bar in the opening cutscene. I'm not sure why we needed to pick a character, but hopefully we find out soon. I'm excited to see where this is going, and I'll check back in at the 5-hour mark. I've reached the 5-hour mark, and a lot has changed in the story. I won't go too much into it to avoid spoilers, but we faced our first true boss fight of the game, and I felt like since I ran through the side dungeons and the dungeons leading up to the boss, this fight was the right amount of difficult. We had our first inheritance of power take place, which allows for us to carry our stats over to the next generation. This makes us much stronger since we can carry over our leveled up weapon stats and spells. This changed the combat, making the game easier in my opinion. We can now swap out party members with other characters from the kingdom, each one of them specializing in different areas because of their class type. We can use a mage now, which some enemies are only weak to magic, so this becomes extremely helpful. The story moved a year into the future, and we can now upgrade our kingdom by using money to build new areas. The first one being a blacksmith. It takes time to build this, and we can either move the generation forward to complete it, or just win a bunch of battles, which is how I finished up the blacksmith. Smithing isn't complex, as we just need materials and crowns to research and create new items. There are even shopkeepers in the smith that will sell you materials, but they have a limited amount. But since they had the materials we needed, I was able to research 3 new weapons and 3 new pieces of armor. They haven't completed them yet, so I don't know if this method is worth it, but I'm assuming the higher attack and defense could make the game easier heading into the next main mission. Speaking of missions, we can do side missions now. And the first and only one I completed so far had us finding a thief and helping them clear out the catacombs below the castle, which was a brand new area that I didn't even know existed until I did that side mission. I've been losing some LP, which is life points, on some of my characters, but none of them are in a state where I need to worry about them being gone forever. I'm still really enjoying the combat in the game. Unlocking new skills and spells to use is always rewarding. At times it feels like there are too many battles and dungeons, but overall I don't mind going through and collecting everything in them. There are small villages we can visit now that have their own problems and side missions, and we'll be able to upgrade the blacksmithing kingdom further. We just need to have 4 territories under our control. Right now we have Somon and that's it, so we need to help these villagers so that we can claim other ones. The last new thing I found were these pedestals that have a glowing blue orb on them. If we interact with them, we get some small flashbacks from the past when the 7 heroes were around the first time. I'm thinking the game is going to tell us 2 stories and then they'll intertwine later on, but I could be completely wrong about this. There isn't much more to talk about besides I'm continuing to level up and collecting new items and weapons. At the end of these 5 hours, we found this one-eyed creature that hides in different areas around the world. We need to collect them and we can unlock rewards. For every 5 that we collect, it will grant us a new reward. Like the first one telling us how many treasure chests are in each area, and we get more crowns from winning battles. This is similar to the little cactus plant from Trials of Mana, and I'm not sure if this was in the original version of the game. That being said, I'm still really enjoying my time with this game, and I can't wait to see how the story moves forward and how the inheritance part will affect the rest of the game and my current characters. I'll check back at the 10-hour mark and see how I'm feeling then. After playing 10 hours, we finally hit big changes in this game. We got our first time skip, which means it forces the next generation to take over, and we had to replace Gerard as the Emperor, which was kind of unfortunate, but since we're forced into it, I picked Bison, the heavy infantry character, and he'll just continue where Gerard left off. The nice thing about the inheritance is that we get all of our previous skills to carry over, meaning that we don't lose anything from doing this. We unlocked a new formation because as an Emperor with a different class type, then we get a new formation. In this formation, we have 3 in the front line now, then a straight line back in the middle. We get a new generation for each one of the character classes too, meaning that all the characters are different from before. I really like this part, but some of the classes feel lazy compared to others, like Hector the Mercenary. He looks the same as he did in the previous generation. His name is different, but that's all. I wish they would have done a bunch of different versions of each character class. After the time skip, we can build 2 more parts of Avalon. The Gardens, which will increase the amount of money we get after each battle, and the Incantation Study, where we can learn new spells. I haven't finished building either one of these, so I don't know how either one of them work yet, so when I check back in at the 20-hour mark, I'll talk more about them then. We have a bunch of new areas unlocked that I just haven't made it to yet, but we completed the Gemstone Mine and claimed another territory. We're now 1 away from being able to upgrade the Blacksmith. Combat is mostly the same, besides that we're learning new techs that are a mix of physical and magical attacks. These I think will be very important because with some of the new enemies, they don't take much damage from our normal attacks, but with the added bonus of magic, it makes life so much easier. The dungeons have felt much longer as we move further into the game, and I've been working on a lot of side quest stuff, so there hasn't been a crazy amount of story progression to really talk about. We found a warrior named Vikar that was working for one of the 7 heroes, but we haven't seen the hero yet, so I don't really want to talk about it. I also don't want to spoil anything story-wise if I can avoid it, so I won't talk about the story part during that section. The last thing I want to talk about is that I unlocked 2 new classes that have their own characters. We got the Martial Artist class, which is a man with a mask, but I haven't used this class yet, so I don't know how it works. And the second class we unlocked is called the Vagabond class, but is more just like a thief. During the story, this class helps us sneak into this fortress and they steal riches, so it's more of a thief than a vagabond. But I guess I could just not understand it. Maybe it is a vagabond. I know this is one of the shorter breakdowns, but I'm still really enjoying my time with this game, and I want more of the story now. I like the added gameplay mechanics, but I think I'm ready for more story and world development. I'll check back in at the 20-hour mark, and I'm sure there will be a bunch to talk about then. I don't even know where to start with this time jump. We've uncovered a lot of the story parts, new character classes, went through 2 emperors, and was able to take down another one of the heroes. I don't want to get extremely spoiler heavy, but I completed the mermaid side quest for the mermaid and mole character classes. This was a very fun side quest. A lot of different things happened throughout it. We had to collect items in new areas, fight bosses, and even save a small village that was being attacked by termites. We discovered an underground colony of mole people to take out the termite queen. Then we needed to collect all these different ingredients and take them back to a witch so that she would make us a potion that would allow us to breathe underwater, just so that we could go down and dance with the mermaid that caught the Emperor's eye. I really liked that one a lot. It's kind of long, but it was really cool. We unlocked synthesized spells that carry 2 different element types, unlocked the incantation lab and upgraded it fully. This is where we can research those spells and assign spells to different characters. We finished the Avalon Garden that has this little tree in the middle, and it will eventually grow in size. We were also able to build the university, which I haven't visited yet, so I don't know what even happens there. My weapon levels are reaching the 30s now for some characters, and we can reforge and make a bunch of new weapons and armor. I've been spending a lot of time checking out all the new areas and finding Mr. S in all of his different hiding spots. We've collected enough of him now that he will show us all the treasure chests that are on the map now, which is extremely helpful in this game. I'm really enjoying the naming scheme for some of the classes as well, like the tank character being named after animals like bison and snail. These are just small details that just stick out to me because some of them are just silly. We have a bunch of new characters that have unique abilities, and I've been relying a bunch on the mage classes as I've moved into the later areas of the game. The glimmers have slowed down a bit, but I've been working on upgrading the levels of all my classes with each emperor so that I can switch to any class without much hesitation. We got to complete a dungeon while driving a boat, which I think might be the weakest part of this game so far. It just feels slow, and since we can't surprise attack the enemies, it just makes things way more difficult to navigate when you're in these areas. Our enemy levels and money coming from the Empire have both increased. I think I'm at level 9 for the enemies and around 32,000 crowns per battle, meaning that making money isn't as slow, and that's helpful because building and upgrading the things around Avalon are now costing me 1 to 2 million crowns apiece. I'm still really enjoying the game, and I think getting new characters with each passing generation is just such a cool concept. I love that the progress carries over, and we get a new formation if the Emperor is a character class that we hadn't used yet. So far in my playthrough, I have the normal Gerard at the beginning, Bison the Tank, and Peter the Crusader, which is a paladin in almost every way. I can't wait to get to the end of this game and give a full recap of all the Emperors I've used throughout the game. I've been thinking heavily about going for a 100% run of this game. That's what I'm thinking at this point, at least. I want to mention again just how amazing this remake looks. Each one of the areas all feel different, and they just feel alive. Some of the graphics during cutscenes have really amazed me as well. I've noticed little things like hair clipping through characters and vines clipping through our arms when climbing, but those are just so minor to how great the rest of the game looks, I can completely overlook it. These are my thoughts for 20 hours, and I'll be back one more time when I complete the game and give my final thoughts and a light overall review for the game, so I'll catch you then. I've made it to the end of Romancing Saga 2: The Revenge of the Seven Heroes. I completed almost all the side quests and grabbed all the treasure chests, character classes, and weapon upgrades that I could, besides that one character class that gets locked based on a decision that you make. Either choice gives you a character class, but locks us out of the other one. No big deal, we would just have to play through the game again. That being said, I completed my journey of this game just shy of 51 hours, and I loved my experience with this game throughout the whole time. There is something about creating a whole new party when we get these time skips or when we die in battle that feels rewarding instead of you being punished. When you die, you keep all your stats for your characters, and then we get to pick a whole new cast of characters, learn new battle formations, and try different approaches to these fights. Or I guess you could just reload your last save file. I felt like it was rewarding for each type of player. There are a total of 13 territories that we could bring under the control of the Empire, and each one of the regions felt different. One of my favorite ones being the jungle region, where we find the Amazon character class, and some of the most beautiful visuals that this game has to offer. On the flip side of that, I think my least favorite region was the desert one. It's mostly sand areas and brown buildings, making the visuals less exciting, and when we're in the actual desert part, we start each battle with half of our total health, causing easy battles to turn into a nightmare. I understand the reasoning behind this, but there wasn't a way to counter this, at least that I could find. In some of the later dungeons, I experienced a bit of slowdown with my game, nothing extremely serious, but was something that I never dealt with while playing until the last few dungeons. This might have just been my PS5 being lazy, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory here, but the final boss of this game was challenging. It takes actual strategy and building the perfect party with the right attacks, evasions, and spells to win. I won't even lie, it took me 4 to 5 tries to finally figure out the perfect set of skills and abilities. Once this game is completed, this game shows you a recap of what each Emperor was able to accomplish. This is done chronologically and is actually really cool to help you remember. I really liked it. It's just a very simple ad, but it's perfect to see how you conquered each section and what decisions you made during your playthrough. I guess it's a good time to mention it now, but after Peter the Crusader, we did the female mercenary, then we did the female ranger class, and then at that point we unlocked the final Emperor, which I won't talk about because it's story related. Once the credits are finished, we get a final cutscene that tidies up the beginning and end of the game, so it feels like one complete experience. The last thing I want to point out is that by the end of my playthrough, some of my weapons were level 70-ish, maybe a little higher, a little lower, and I'm not sure if that's normal, because it seems rather high compared to other people's gameplay that I've seen online. Anyways, for my first time playing this game and first Saga game, this was an amazing experience. I almost didn't want to finish this one because I was enjoying my time with it so much. So if I had to review this game out of 10, I think I would give this a 9. I loved almost everything about it, but the thing that bothered me was locking me out of content. I want everything the game has to offer, but I don't have the time to play through the game multiple times just to get a new weapon or character class. Allow me to have access to those characters later, or at least let me know when one of these moments were about to happen. But overall, if you just like JRPGs, this is a good one. But remember that most people consider this one challenging. When you load up your game after you complete it, we get a new dungeon to explore, but I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to check that out later. Those were my thoughts throughout my playthrough of Romancing Saga 2: The Revenge of the Seven Heroes. I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing how my thoughts had changed over the span of my playthrough of this. If you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments that you liked this video and what other JRPGs you'd want me to check out. Remember to like this video because it helps out my channel. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button for more JRPG content, and as always, I will see you in the next one.